Right, well, there you go, James. We've kicked off the first podcast of 2026 on a cheery note. So now a little bit of some, I think there's any way of describing it as anything other than sort of sad news. Unfortunately, due to some circumstances we'll go into shortly, James and I are going to be stopping, not releasing We Are West Ham podcast shows for the foreseeable future. To be frank, potentially forever, certainly for a period of months rather than weeks. There's lots of factors that are playing into that decision. I spoke to James last week. Obviously, we extended our Christmas break, as you know, but there are several factors affecting that decision and why we've come to it. Both me and James, obviously, we've sort of alluded to it a bit, and I know a few of you have reached out to James in particular, and also me, sort of privately through our socials. Listeners, such a loyal fan base as you are, listener base as you are. Last year, for both James and I, were extremely difficult and extremely challenging from personal and professional perspectives. I can only speak for myself here. I split up with a partner. I had to move house twice. Slightly more positive, but a drain of my time. 2 promotions at work. Just saw loads and loads of hours taken in, or loads of extra hours had to be taken on from my point of view. Obviously, you've heard our feelings on West Ham for the entire journey. The apathy had already set in. I seriously considered for the first time for a while about renewing my ticket over the summer. Just through all of those factors, and as well the state of the club and the fact that we see it getting much better. Ended up renewing as much because it's a thing I've done with my dad as anything else, and I told you about all that. Since then, my professional life, more so than anything, is hoovering up more and more and more of my hours and my time and my energy. And you may even have picked up on it yourselves, but in the last sort of couple of months, anytime James and I have had to do the podcast, it can be told now by the fact it's 7:57 p.m. on a Wednesday, and I'm doing this, the last West Ham, We Are West Ham podcast for the foreseeable from my office. And once this is done, we'll have to go back and do some more work. That every time the podcast came round, it was harder and harder to factor it into my week. And James has had an awful lot going on as well. I'll throw to him in a minute. To sort of make it work for both of us. It always felt a bit rushed. We weren't able to put as much time, effort and energy in, A, as I would have liked, B, as you lot deserve, and C, as we have been able to at various different points across the 8 years, nearly 8 years, the 7 and a bit years since I met James, and we started what is now We Are West Ham on a live radio station on Love Sport, the West Ham fan show, every Tuesday night, I believe it was, 6 to 8 in Southwark. It's been an absolute roller coaster, and sadly, and I'm really sorry for it, but it's just too much at the moment where I'm at in my life. Lots and lots of stuff going on, predominantly professionally, but sort of personally as well. Just to be truthfully honest, actually, this month alone, it's January transfer window. Lots of you may or may not know I work in sports media as a sports journalist, and so I've got the January transfer window this month, hoovering up more and more hours. I've got to renew my mortgage, I've got to extend my lease on my flat, plus find new tenants by the end of January. That is a small chunk of what's been going on in my personal life over the last 8 to 9 months. Combine that with work, something has got to give, unfortunately. Otherwise, it will be me. And yeah, I've just had to come to the extremely difficult decision the other day. Just so you're sort of fully aware of what happened, I rang James and just explained all that. And yeah, unfortunately, this stage I'm in, I can't let it be me that sort of gives in. Something's had to give, and I'm afraid I've had to make the difficult decision that the podcast, it has to be the podcast that gives at the moment. James said to me on the phone when we discussed it, it's really sad. It's a really sad decision to have to make. That I won't lie and pretend that the state of the club at the moment hasn't factored into that decision. It definitely has. When, as I've already said on this podcast, when West Ham were, under David Moyes, everyone knows how much I love him. But during those years and those times, particularly the European runs, but it was the thing I most looked forward to doing in the week was the podcast. It was the best. It was so brilliant, reveling in the joy and reveling in how great it was. So I would be lying if I said that the state of the club at the moment isn't factoring into my decision. My desire to go has hugely decreased. I've still got my season ticket, didn't go to any games over the Christmas period. Again, other priorities, because I don't feel really let down and conned by the club and so devastated about the situation it's in. I don't feel like they sort of deserve my money anymore. I've obviously paid for my ticket. So my desire to go is hugely dipped. I've got other priorities, which means I think the quality of the content we put out, or that I put out, has certainly dipped, because James has still been going to the games. That doesn't feel fair either. Obviously, lots of you are patrons, and we really appreciate you guys. But that's you're paying hard-earned money for the content, and I feel for a variety of factors, from my point of view anyway, haven't been able to serve up what you would deserve. So yeah, I hope that kind of explains it. James and I have sort of left it a little bit open, because at least for this, then take some much needed time off in February and March, which I wasn't able to do last year. We'll be out or sort of off for 5 of the 8 weeks from the beginning of February to the end of March. So it's not feasible to sort of keep that commitment going then. There's an awful lot probably that goes into these that you don't see. So yeah, difficult decision, but that's where we've come to. I hope that makes sense. I hope you understand. We're really sorry. But it's been a blinding run. We've built a brilliant brand, as James said, a really loyal, we're the first ones to say we're not the biggest West Ham platform out there. But I like to think that's, because of the way we go about things, we try and stay a little bit level-headed. We're not sort of ranters and ravers and swearers. We like to be balanced. We've been described as the thinking man's West Ham podcast and the posh West Ham podcast in the past. And as a result of that, I think we've built up a really niche, loyal, dedicated audience who've sort of stayed with us for long parts of the journey. And for that, we really appreciate. And yeah, I from a personal point of view, don't feel like sort of being given what you deserve really over the sort of last few months. It's got to a stage where not only I don't feel that's going to change. You'll have noticed a few of the opposition views dropped off. And that's as a symptom of all the stuff I was describing. Not only do I think it's not going to change, I actually think it's going to be even more difficult than it has been for me to even carve out the time to do the podcast, let alone put the stuff into it that we'd like. So from my perspective, I can't thank all of you enough. It's been absolutely wonderful. Some of the messages we've had across the time have been fantastic. I love the abusive ones as much of the supportive ones. Biggest thanks has to go to Miriam Errington, who, let's have it right, if it wasn't for her financial support over the last couple of years as our primary sponsor, we'd have ditched it way earlier than we did, because lots of money that goes into this thing as well as time. Alex Smith, Tom Edwards, who was on it before, all the guests we've had over COVID. We started as a radio station on Love Sport Radio in Southwark in 2018. Like we mentioned, did that for a bit. COVID hit. That's when we decided to carry it on as a podcast. We interviewed some great players. Dean Ashton was my favourite one. Some great ex-players over that time as well. And it's carried on going since. So it's been an absolute blast. It's just a huge part of my life and my identity for such a long time. It's really, really, really difficult to walk away from. But I haven't really got much choice, unfortunately. So I hope you understand. That's sort of as much as I've got to say on it. And I'll throw over to James, really.
You always do this. You chat for ages and basically say everything that I wanted to say, and then I've got nothing to say. But
just explain my position. But obviously,
I think from my point of view, 2025 was also a very difficult year for me. Some listeners have reached out to me, as Will mentioned, noticed some of my social media activity when I was probably at the lowest point of my life, For those that don't know, I'm currently going through a separation. My wife, which has taken up a lot of mental capacity and emotional capacity of mine ever since, probably since, although it was nail in the coffin around about, actually, I can't even remember when it was, August time maybe. No, earlier than that, actually. June, July. The whole year just blends into one. It just means that I've just had to deal with that ever since, and it put me into a very, very dark place for a long time. And I'm only kind of just coming out of it. Some of you eagle-eyed watchers on YouTube would have seen that I'm no longer sitting in front of my the wardrobe behind me.
Yeah.
I now actually have a sofa behind me because I've had to move back to the flat that I own. I've had to kick the tenant out to move out. And then obviously, I've now got to find time to see my son because I now live an hour and a half, 2 hours away from that. So it's been difficult for me as well. And I'm now in a kind of a rebuild stage in my life where I've basically had to start again from scratch. Similar to Will in that, there are other priorities in my life that, although I wanted to try as hard as we could to try and keep this going, I think realistically for both of us, it was the one thing that we both needed to kind of park for a period of time, and see what happens in the future. I said to Will the other day on the phone when we came to the decision that over the next few months, I'm going to have a think about how we can keep the podcast going at whether it would be come out in the same format or not is too early to say, but I'm going to have a good think. Some ideas to see how we can keep the brand alive, keep you guys receiving content that clearly you've enjoyed, because you tell us that you enjoy it every single week.
Well, most of you.
Most of you anyway. Yeah, some of you just moan at us all the time, which is also really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like the next few months is mainly going to be me kind of having just doing a little bit of research, thinking about some ideas on how we can, or even if it's just me or whatever, finding ways of still delivering content to you guys under the We Are West Ham podcast branding, but whether it will be in the same format is unlikely at this stage, I would say. But never say never. We might win the FA Cup. We might fall back in love with the club because we'll be back in Europe next year, and we'll be back properly from the summer. You never know. You never know. Stranger things have happened, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly, mate. And I think that's the thing. If we have some sort of miraculous run and we win every game between now and the end of the season, we're back in Europe. Shamelessly, I might be able to carve out. Well, I'll certainly be able to carve out time for going to West Ham. Whether I'll be able to carve out time for doing the podcast is another. Is another question. Or of course, as everyone knows, if Everton have a rocky patch and David Moyes 3.0 comes back in, then I'll be all over that. But listen, it's been a blast. It's been an absolute blast. 2018, it was freezing cold. I was doing work experience at Love Sport Radio during the day while I was retraining to be a sports journalist from my old career as a quantity surveyor, and I was desperate to be on the radio, doing some awful stuff. The station went bust during COVID, and I remember they used to do fan shows, and they said, "Oh, do you want to come and do the West Ham fan show Tuesday? Come and cover," because our normal guy, who's James Jones, I now know, who, as the owner and host of West Ham World, James, were you at the time?
West Ham World back then, yeah.
West Ham World website and platform, covering while he was on holiday. So I sat opposite the host. He asked me about questions for 2 hours about West Ham, and I had the blast. It was brilliant. I was on national radio talking about West Ham. It was great. They asked me back the week after to cover James, who's still on holiday in Thailand, and I sat in the sort of the office waiting to go on, and James walks in. He was confused to see me there, told that his cover was there. He'd got back off holiday earlier, and we ended up doing that show together because I'd already turned up to cover James. They thought he was on holiday. He wasn't. We did the show together, had an absolute blast, loads of chemistry from the off, and then it became, rather than James and host, who was a non-West Ham fan, I can't remember who it was, then it became me and James. We hit it off since then, yeah, like I say, did that till COVID. Carried it on as a podcast over COVID. We had Chesney Hawkes on. We did live podcasts from Lyon and Seville and Prague. Yeah, the greatest times. The greatest times. Been James and I will remain firm friends. Unfortunately, no sort of EastEnders style drama between the two of us. That's mean we've split. But yeah, we've built something brilliant. But it wouldn't be anything without you lot, quite frankly. Well, it might have been, but it would have just been two blokes doing a Zoom call with each other once a week for 7 years, which would have been pretty weird, frankly. So yeah, watch this space. We Are West Ham as a platform, not dead. It's still ours, so no one nick it. We're still got it trademarked. Yeah, James may be back. Who knows? It may be me back. But I don't know. At the moment, if I'm being frank, it feels like no. Obviously, it depends what happens with the club. Yeah, I think my life's going to change a lot over the next few months, and can't see myself at this stage having a West Ham season ticket again next year. It'll be the first time, other than the year I went travelling for a year, since the age of 9. So huge life decision for myself. That's probably, who knows what will change, but certainly you won't be hearing from me anytime between now and sort of April in any form. Follow me on Instagram by all means, because I'll still be sharing Moyes in propaganda and bashing any West Ham fan out there who thought it was a good idea to let him go. I'll still be doing that. So if you fancy that, follow me on Twitter at William Pugh _ I don't really post on Twitter, but yeah, get me on my personal Instagram. I'll be over there. But yeah, that's about it really. Hope you understand. You right, James?
I suppose it's worth just pointing out that to our patrons, we will be closing the subscription down. So we so yeah, you might want to just cancel your direct debit your end, but we'll make sure that we do the admin our end as well to make sure we're not just taking money off you while doing nothing. We will sort that out.
Yeah, stay subscribed obviously to all the platforms, and send us some DMs. I know a few of you are sort of going to be angry and upset or whatever. Hopefully not angry. I hope it makes sense. You'd be angry based on the reasons we've given.
No
reflection on you, maybe. But lots of you will be upset, understandably. We're upset about it. Lots of you will be delighted. Those of you who are, could you please message me, because it'll make me feel better about it.
Me too as well. Yeah. Me too as well.
Yeah, you just message us and just say what you think. Thank God that, I mean, none of you have to listen to us. Some of you seem to delight in hate listening to us, which is absolutely fine. Special mention to Mark Scott, I think was probably my biggest hater. But yeah, if any of you hate us, then get in touch, let us know your worst ever We Are West Ham podcast moments. For those of you who loved us and enjoyed it, let us know, because that's been my favourite bit, James. Doing the away podcast, the live podcast. The one in Lyon stands in my mind. The Prague one, when Chesney Hawkes got involved live during the podcast, that was great. But it's all the messages, really. It's the messages you get from people saying that we're getting through hard times, or they agree or disagree, whatever. Makes you feel like proper part of a community. That's a bit I miss. So if you find it within yourselves, however you feel, do send us a message, either on private personal Instagram or the podcast one. That's the one we listen to the most.
Yeah, I was going to say before you said it, that I think one of my favourite things has been just the interaction with the listeners on social media. Some good, some bad. 99% have been great interactions. I've recently had a couple of interactions with long-term listener Darius on Instagram. He's been really kind. Darius Barrows, he's been in touch a few times, especially recently. He's reached out. He also helped me get through that period that I had gout a couple of years ago.
Do you remember that? Of course, yeah.
And he
did a recipe.
He tipped my DMs with some good tips on how to get over gout, and it helped. So, and I've not had a flare up since, which is good. So, and there's been so many others. I forget everyone's names. There's been so many, but even people that I bumped into at the ground. Have come up and said hello as well. So, and that's really cool. Like, it's really good to meet people face to face, and sometimes even have a beer with them as well. So, what a blast! It's given so many opportunities, like the radio interviews that we've been able to do. You and I went on match of the day 2, didn't we? Remember that?
Yeah.
Day 2 at Ken's Caff.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to play at the London Stadium. I scored. Remember that? I scored, didn't I? London
I
Stadium.
do remember that.
I hate being reminded about it.
Yeah.
And just everything else. The trip to Lyon was great. Prague was just like, will never be beaten for me.
No.
All of it. And when I started that radio show before I met you, I had no idea where it was going to end up and where it was going to lead. I just agreed to do it, and I'm so happy I did, because it wouldn't have led to. I wouldn't have had the experiences that I've had. I wouldn't have met you, and we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't have had it. We wouldn't have any of those experiences. So, the best decision of my life, mate. That.
Yeah. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. One other thing we definitely need to mention. I want to say a special thanks to Chad Yeomans from Betway.
Yes.
He was a real supporter of this podcast from the off, and one of the thing actually I sort of forgot, but I'm so proud of about this podcast. We raised around 20,000, I think more than £20,000 over several seasons in conjunction with Betway as our charity partner. We were doing charity bets on every single, where they gave us £50 stakes to have a charity bet on every single West Ham game throughout a season. We raised money for Isla's fight, for the Bobby Moore Fund, who I'm still a supporter of now. My dad had bowel cancer, so it was a big cause close to my heart. We so 20 grand or more. That was all via that partnership with Betway. Chad was so supportive of us from the off. I wanted to do something like that for us. So I was ringing round bookmakers, and they're like PR people, one summer between seasons. Chad was the only one who not only picked up the phone and got back to me, but was really supportive of the podcast. He was great to us, helping us out, particularly me, to be fair, you know, always inviting us to games and hospitality things whenever he had spares. That was a wonderful partnership, and something I'm really proud of as well. And all the opposition view guests, James, I think that was one of the really sort of heartwarming parts of doing this for me. And did quite a lot of those over the time. It's sort of become my thing for a bit. I know you got involved in quite a few of them as well, but it was talking to proper football fans who loved their football clubs just as much as we did. It was never, apart from the Tottenham ones, which I always found a touch awkward, but even them, like they're all right, really. They're all just normal people like us who care deeply about their football clubs. And I think loads of those, James, it's fair to say, the opposition views resonated with our listeners as much, if not more often, than just listening to me and you. So thanks for the opposition view as well. Thanks to Betway. The money raised for charity was unbelievable. I've still got the three framed letters from Stephanie Moore from the Bobby Moore Fund, thanking us for our like thousands of pounds in donations over that time, framed in my lounge. Two of the things I'm most proud of, and we did that through this. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thanks for listening, everyone. Goodbye. Call it a pause for now. Stick with us. But who knows what the future holds? Who knows what the future will hold? Thanks for listening. And I know it might be hard, but stick with West Ham. If that means don't go to the games, and it means you don't want to give your money, because that's the situation I'm in. Other factors as well. I don't want to give my money to it anymore. Lots of people feel like that. If that's the way you feel, fine. But if there's one thing that survives from it, let it be the sense of community and the shared experiences we've had watching the club, both good and bad. This is a truly terrible time now, and it does appear that the bleak times are going to be on the horizon for quite a long time. If you're a bit newer and a bit younger to following West Ham, we do go down, and you can go to as many away games as possible. That was one of the, when we went down last time, I missed 2 away games all season. I was sort of in my late teens, early 20s. And it was a blast. Go to some away games, go to the Championship grounds. That's where the proper West Ham fans are as well. I know the loyalty points are skewed, all that sort of thing slightly, so you get a lot more of the same faces. So less people that are in the away ends. It feels like less of a novelty. That's been some of the magic of supporting West Ham for me over the years, is all the away games, the away trips. Lyon away is the most happy I've ever felt in my life when Declan Rice scored that goal. It's the moment of peak ecstasy. That and the FA Cup final when Konchesky's one went in 2006. Peak moments of ecstasy. But those away games is where the proper hardcore West Ham fans go. In the Championship, they'll probably do away with the loyalty points thing. They may not, but it'll be easier, you'd imagine, to get a ticket. Remember, Robert Green was on Monday Night Football, James, wasn't he? Tuesday Night Football for the Forest game. I remember being away at Barnsley singing "We All Dream of a Team of Robert Greens" for about 90 minutes. He was joining in by the end of it because we were thrashing them so heavily. Go to some away games because, again, unlike when we went down last time, you haven't got Upton Park to go to when it will be full of West Ham fans. You're going to have to go to home games at London Stadium. It's going to be bleak. There's no dressing that up. Games against Millwall will be good. Be a couple of derbies. It's not going to be the same. But stick with it and remember it's that sense of shared community. And find that where you can, even if it's not a London Stadium. Find it where you can, whether it's online, whether it's in person, whether it's at away games, whether it's maybe you go and still meet up and watch games, home games at the pub with your mates, whatever it is. Find it somewhere because being a West Ham fan is something special. Me and James got shared out of each other over the past 7 years. We've got to share it with loads of you. So thanks very much. Whether you come up to meet us in person or if you've got in touch with us online, sort of keep doing that by all means. If you do see us at games, because we have still got our tickets, James will be going, certainly a lot more than me. Come up and say hello. Thanks for everything. Thanks for listening. No matter what anyone tells you, no matter what the home games will suggest next season, and for the rest of this, West Ham are massive. Thanks for everything. We won't see you next week, but we may see you again soon.